Morning, everyone. So I'd like to start. My job title says I'm head of sales, like my colleague before me, Harold. But actually, we're both architects. We're both passionate about design. And hopefully, we have that in common with everybody in this room today. And I think hold on to that thought, because as we go through the next few days, you're going to hear an awful lot of things, see an awful lot of things that are going to make you feel even more passionate about what you do day to day. And hopefully, our tools can help contribute to that. But let's start off with something that actually creates even more passion than design, football. So we just move the other slide on, please. The World Cup ran this year. The World Cup is an amazing event because since it started in 1930, it's kind of reinvented itself every 4 years. It builds on the previous event. It uses the best tools at its disposal to create a truly global experience. It doesn't really think about geographical boundaries, doesn't think about income or standards of living. What it creates is a massive community event, in this case, around a football match. And this year, you know, we saw something very, very significant, because what happened was there were not just the TV coverage, but actually 24 million unique users watched 15 million hours of content online on various devices, on mobile devices. There were 35 million tweets and 280 million Facebook entries, all as a result of the World Cup. It created a truly global experience. And technology was the enabler of that. Now take that same concept and apply it to a design environment. Think about if you could have an idea in Istanbul and you could spread that idea quickly through an extended design community all around the world using technology. That's the potential of what we now have at our disposal. That may make you feel excited. It may make you feel a bit nervous because of the increased competition in your market. Hopefully, it actually makes you feel a little bit of both of those things. But then, technology, you can never trust it. Our markets are changing. We have a lot of experience in the construction market, in automotive design, in manufacturing design. But everything is changing. They are rapidly evolving. And our job as a technology company is to ensure that we can provide the tools to enable you to take advantage of that. As the fields broaden, as the number of companies increase, we want all of you to be able to take advantage of that. Autodesk technology has been helping change the way the world around us is designed. And this gives us a unique perspective on the future of how things are made. And that's actually what I want to talk about today, exploring the future of how things are made. Let's go way back. The Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution. You know, in a strange way, technology was the driver of that. Technology is often the disruptor, the thing that drives change. Back in the day, it was about mass production. It was about harnessing steam and water power and coal and then eventually gas and electricity. But it was about producing things in high volume at a price and in a quantity that made it commercially viable. Technology drove that change in the 19th century. It's also driving the change today, but actually things are changing because we're no longer just interested in owning something. We're actually as interested in how things are made, how things are manufactured. So the whole idea of design and manufacturing consumption is becoming more and more blurred. You know, we're all becoming more responsible. This is changing the way that we're thinking about design. Sustainability is very important to us. Whereas in Dickens' time, we thought about lots of children covered in soot and working in mills and working in factories. Today, we're thinking about teenagers armed with a laptop, armed with cloud-based software, designing and thinking about the future in the same way that professionals do in the office environment. But they're getting an early start in 3D graphics, in animation, or even in industrial design. Any Star Trek fans amongst you maybe will recognize this machine. I'm told it's called the Replicator. And it's a replicator will produce anything at the touch of a button. Okay, look, we're not quite there yet. But what you're going to see over the next couple of days around 3D printing, around access to 3D models, about the ability to simulate and analyze your design, you'll see that actually some of the stuff that's talked about in Star Trek and imagined in other science fiction is getting actually a whole lot closer than we first thought. And a lot of that is coming from the way that the community, the attitudes of new designers, the global design community is changing and responding to changes in the global markets. We all like to tell stories, we all like to watch movies. Movie producers have for a long time been able, have wanted to be able to create the fidelity of graphics that we saw with Gravity. But it's only recently we've had the technology to be able to do that. More significantly, in the latest release of the Planet of the Apes movie, some of you may have seen it, but that was the first time Gravity was filmed with a green screen, and then the background was dropped in behind it. In Planet of the Apes, the actors wore motion capture suits and went out on site. That's the first time that has ever been done, and if you see that film, it's even more and more difficult to discern the difference between CGI and reality. The results are absolutely breathtaking. The same is true for video games. Games developers have always wanted to be able to create real environments, but now they don't need to actually create the individual buildings. Now there is data available that allows them to put real data, real building data, real city data into their games and create an even more immersive and more realistic experience for their users. But why is this happening, and why is it happening now? The truth is, changes are far more than technological. Of course, technology drives change, but there's a change in attitude that we're seeing, and there's three trends. The first change is what we call a disruption to production. The way things are being produced is changing, both from a physical and an intellectual standpoint. There's disruptions to connection. Things now talk to each other. Objects don't exist in isolation anymore. They're part of an extended, intelligent network. And the third disruptor is a disruptor to consumption, the way we buy stuff. Our expectations of quality, our expectations of delivery times is changing dramatically. And they're all things that are helping us change the way that we think about design. So we move the next slide on, please. So 3D printing, you're going to hear an awful lot about this. You know, while this is playing through, at Autodesk University in Vegas last week, we saw something really remarkable. There's a company called Made in Space, and they manufactured the first component ever not to be produced on Earth. Which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. You know, we've been sending things to Mars, we've been sending things to the International Space Station. Every single component has been made on Earth. Producing something on the International Space Station on a 3D printer controlled from mission control was one of the most dramatic things that we've been able to do, and it's a real milestone in the use of technology. Boundaries are getting blurred. Construction companies are becoming manufacturing companies. Prefabrication in construction is becoming the norm now. We're changing the way we think about, the way we design and manufacture. Products can be brought to market much, much faster and can be brought to market in a much higher level of quality than we've been used to. The global supply chain has responded to this and is now much more flexible. With that comes competition. Competition is a good thing. With greater access to capital, talent, and processing power, designs and products of the future can come from individuals and from companies. So, whereas before, as I said, you know, back in the Industrial Revolution, we saw children as cheap labor, now students or startups or individuals working from their spare bedroom can design. They can start making a real difference. They are just as likely to come up with an idea that's going to change the world than the multinational manufacturing firms, if not more so. It's a really exciting time. And one of the reasons for that is this idea of of global participation, global communities. So we no longer need, you all know this, you no longer need to have people in the same physical location to work on a design. You can build design teams by calling in specialist knowledge, by calling in interested parties from any location, and you can work effectively across geos using, web-based conferencing, video conferencing, etc. We're all used to that. But what comes with that, and this is a really important thing, because this is the new attitude, it's intellectual property is shared. A generation has grown up using social media. They post everything online. They don't understand this idea of keeping information close to your chest and owning that IP. People share that, and actually now industry is starting to respond. So this is an electronics design. The IP for this has been made readily available. In fact, other companies, other designers, other individuals are actively encouraged by this company to reuse and modify their design. What that means is existing products are being improved a lot quicker and new products are coming to market. So that dynamic of sharing intellectual property is driving an acceleration in our industry. And you'll see a couple of examples from Autodesk later where we're doing exactly that to support the businesses that we serve. The second disruptor is about connectivity. Components are connected to each other and actually to other systems. We no longer live in a world of idle appliances. The way things interconnect and relate to each other is deeper, both physically and from an operations standpoint. Things talk to each other, and we need to consider that. We need to think about it in the way that we design. Customers and third parties are extending product capabilities. Smartphone integration of intelligent home appliances such as Nest, which allows you remotely. Hello? Sorry about this. Is that back on? Yeah? Okay. I always like to throw those little things in just to keep us on our toes. This is the Nest. It's self-learning smart thermostat, and it brings together all kinds of disciplines into a single product. You may be familiar with this, but it's going to become more and more pervasive in our market. Components in buildings are no longer dumb, isolated, idle components. They sit as part of a network. Electronics are used to adapt and modify and control the environment in which we work, even the individual components within the building. That concept of connectivity, of connected environments, is central to the technological revolution. And the final one is disruptor, is around consumption. Consumers are getting smarter. We all want to be able to go onto the Nike website and design our individual running shoes. Many of us now want to buy locally. And actually, the new methods of production make it viable for small startup companies to produce locally. You no longer need to open up a production facility in Thailand and produce multi-million of every single component. It's far more viable. It's changing customer behavior. Or more importantly, the changes in customer behavior are changing the way we think about design and production. This is a Tesla car. It's remarkable for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's one of the first new car companies to spring up in the last, whenever, 50 years probably. And that's one of the things we said earlier about how technology and the way things are going are actually encouraging new startups. But actually what they also do, the buying experience and the ownership experience is very, very different. You buy from a shopping mall or you buy online. You don't go to a traditional dealership to buy a Tesla. But once you've bought the car, the experience is even different. You have a long-term relationship with the manufacturer. It's an electric car. It's essentially a laptop with a wheel in each corner. But they manage that and they maintain that vehicle for you for the whole lifespan. So they automatically upload updates to the software. They take it in for servicing. You have a long-term relationship with that car manufacturer. And that's changing the way we think about it. So what does that actually mean for you? The big challenge is that actually now the global design community is coming up, the speed of ideas is outpacing our ability to produce them. Now that's exciting for every one of us that's in design. It's exciting because it creates a lot of opportunity for us to innovate. It's also challenging because it also means our competitors have a lot of opportunity to innovate. So it's important that we understand what this means. We all need to evolve, and we need to take advantage of the opportunity that exists for us. There's a convergence of how things are being produced. Construction companies are becoming manufacturers. Media and entertainment firms are behaving more like car brands. They're pre-visualizing their games environments and their movie environments a long time before it goes into production. The tools that are available are making this economic, and are making it much easier. So I want to highlight a few things that are being worked on. Some of these things, they're not necessarily Autodesk projects. Some things may become realities, some may not. But I just really want to highlight the way that things that are changing the way we design and the way things are made. This is a joint project. I talked about convergence before. This is a joint project between Harvard School of Engineering and the Weiss Institute for Biological Engineering. And these are robots inspired by the behavior of termites, believe it or not. And they've been programmed and designed to build a structure from pictures. Now, obviously, very early prototype. You can see where this stuff is going. It's going to lead to the automation of construction of buildings. 3D printed buildings. Well, you've all heard of this, and you think, well, yeah, this doesn't look particularly remarkable. It's obviously a model. Well, this one is, but this one isn't. Here's a real building produced in China. And if you look at that gable end on the building, you'll see the benefits of 3D printing. It allows us to produce optimized structures that could not be manufactured any other way. It's quite a complex lattice work. Every non-essential component part of the material is removed. And of course, it's not cut out and discarded. It's just not used. It's actually very efficient from a sustainability and an economic standpoint. You know, they're producing now these houses for $5,000 each, and they can create 10 a day. Quality is probably questionable at this stage, but again, imagine where this is now going. And on the large scale, the availability of large-scale data on whole cities allow us to make far more intelligent and informed decisions about the planning of our urban environment. This is actually using the InfoWorks 360 product, and what this shows is zooming out even further out from the city scale. This is showing the carbon footprint of all of the buildings that are within that urban area, and it allows us to make way more informed decisions about how we're going to design, where we're going to design, etc. Something else. I mentioned before that large companies can obviously change the world. There's just as much chance of an individual or a startup in this new global economy to be able to come up with something that's going to change the world. Quirky, many of you may have heard of this site. It's a great idea. It's connecting inventors with people with money, with a supply chain that can manufacture. Here is a guy called Garthen. And Garthen has designed an air conditioning unit, but it's a smart air conditioner because it learns from your budget, from your location, from your schedule and usage to automatically maintain the temperature where it's installed and to maximize your savings. And of course, it can be controlled from a smartphone anywhere. But Quirky has been responsible for a number of students graduating from college as millionaires because they've designed something, they've gone on to Quirky, they've found funding, they've found people who will help them produce stuff, and they're able to take products to market. It's a really exciting development. And of course, the other thing is now with the availability of designs online, the ability to easily customize stuff, we can go online and we can customize things and purchase products that have been specifically designed for our bodies. 3D printing is helping that, of course. But that, as a way of changing the way we produce, every single component can be different. Every single component can be customized, something that previously wasn't possible. Of course, the future isn't so far off. You'll have heard of the Internet of Things, the fact that everything is connected. Kitchen appliances, you know, when a fault is detected, the supplier can automatically download a software upgrade. If that doesn't fix it, They can automatically place an engineer call out to come out. That's happening now. You see it already. It's going to get more and more commonplace in our homes. So what does that mean for us? You know, we've helped for the last 30 years, as Harold mentioned, create tools that enable you to design more effectively. Today's advances in collaboration, simulation, visualization, and now 3D printing will eventually allow you to focus less on repetitive design tasks and more on designs that are disrupting the design, engineering, and entertainment professions. As a result of that, you know, we are expanding beyond our design roots to think about how we can help you and how we can influence the future of making things. So I know a lot of you, well, most of you are here to learn more about the products that you already use from the Autodesk portfolio. And you're going to hear a lot about that over the next couple of days, so I'm not going to talk any more about that at the moment. But what I am going to do is just show you some stuff, some products that you may have heard of, you may be aware of, and some new enhancements that I think you're going to find interesting and is really a step in the direction of the future of how things are made. The first thing that is key is collaboration. Autodesk A360 is our collaboration platform. With this, you can provide access to a whole range of data, and it's important to stress it's not just design data. It can be for different formats from different software, it can be photographic information, can be Word documents. It allows you to look and interrogate every aspect of the design. Whether you want to just view it online, run a stress analysis, whether you want to modify the design, all of that can be accessed on a whole range of devices in any location. The place where you store your data and how you access it is changing. And our job is to make that as flexible as possible. Some of you will have heard about BIM 360. This is taking BIM, Building Information Modeling, into the field. It allows you, using a tablet, to go on site and do an easy comparison of the design versus the actual. It allows you to identify where there are potential problems. It allows you to record those on site and send it back to the office. It then provides you with a range of tools to very accurately and easily demonstrate, show the status of the project. Fusion 360. Many of you, I'm sure, use Inventor. Fusion 360 is a cloud-based application that allows you to very easily work up concept designs. You can use the geometry tools to very quickly produce a product. You could also fast-track that by bringing the data in from somewhere else. Once you've done that, you can run analyses. You can run a whole load of simulations to really think about how this product will go into production. Here we see, you know, the 3D printing and milling process to produce the final component. All of that can be simulated. The important thing here, again, it's platform independent. So you can start off working on an iPad, you can go to PC, you can go to a Mac, you can work from your iPhone, you work from your tablet. It's all platform independent. It supports the global working, it supports flexible working. Of course, visualization is nothing new to us. We've been visualizing in some shape or form for a long time. This is a VRED application, and it was designed specifically for the automotive industry. What it provides is photorealistic rendering, but not just photorealistic. Actually, the materials that you choose are physically accurate. So it can discern differences between glass types, with different types of glass on the headlamps, to the windshield, to the side windows, to the rear windows. It's not just there for sales and marketing. It's there to inform and help the right design decisions to be made. And of course, it can be placed into a real environment. Online cloud-based rendering is obviously very key. Go back to my time in practice, the only companies that were able to produce photorealistic animations and visualizations were the highly profitable firms who could invest in their own render farms, processing power. The cloud provides us with the ability to give access to infinite computing power. That means that the graduate student working out of his parents' spare bedroom in Hong Kong can produce a design that looks as seductive as the 200-man company in the center of Istanbul. So it's changing the competitive landscape. But what it does, it allows us to communicate our ideas way more effectively. We recently made an acquisition called BitSquid. BitSquid is a game engine. It's the basis of a games engine. And we're developing that to make it ready for the medium-sized and small companies. We want to make it easier for companies in the game space to access this market. But actually, it goes further than that, because the games environment allows us to simulate the real world. This is a design done in Fusion 360. It was designed by Carl Bass, our CEO, so obviously it's a fantastic design. It's an electric go-kart that he designed with his son and made it at our Pier 9 production facility. But once the thing was designed, he was able to drop it into a real environment using the BitSquid games engine and simulate it in the real world. It allows us to not just see the design and optimize it from an engineering perspective, it allows us to view it as it will look in the field. And that games engine, this is kind of typical of what Autodesk has done over the years. We've developed something specific for one industry, then we've taken it and applied it to many other industries. So whilst it starts off as a gaming engine, it's going to be something that's available to all industries to allow you to make more informed decisions and better design. Reality capture, many of you will be aware of that. You know, working on historic buildings, it's always been difficult to justify using BIM, hasn't it? Because of your inability to capture the existing asset, particularly when that's irregular. Point cloud data and laser scanners now allow us to import billions of points to get photorealistic representation inside of Revit very quickly. It then allows us to superimpose the new over the existing. Allows us to make informed design decisions very quickly, going from the as-is to the new reality. And one of my favorites, not just because it's a cool name, Dreamcatcher. What Dreamcatcher does is it optimizes design. It allows you to run many iterations of a design to optimize it. When Thomas Edison designed the light bulb, he made 10,000 physical prototypes before he found one that worked. This is kind of the modern equivalent of that. You put your design constraints in, whether it's cost, whether it's performance, whether it's material type, it will run those analyses for you and come up with the optimal solution, allowing you as a designer to focus on what you're good at, design, and not detailing. Everything I've talked about is cloud-based. Anything you'll hear about over the next few days that has 360 in its name is cloud-based. Processing power is the only resource at our disposal that is getting more readily available, but cheaper. Salaries are going up, cost of training goes up, cost of raw materials goes up, cost of access to processing power is coming down. So use it. It could be your best friend in winning more market share. The lines between software and hardware companies are kind of changing, and Autodesk is changing with that. This is a product called Amber. This is Autodesk's first piece of hardware. It's a 3D printer. We started shipping it in the US this year, and we're going to be shipping a whole lot more of that next year around the world. But actually, more importantly, we also have a 3D printing driver, called Spark. And that's open source. We're making it available to anyone who wants to either build a 3D printer or design software that interfaces with 3D printing, to develop a common open standard and to improve the user experience. Because anyone who's tried using 3D printing, the results are fantastic, but sometimes it's not as intuitive as you would like. But all of this, what's it actually about? Look, there are some big problems in the world that I think every one of us wants to play a part in solving, whether it's scarce resources, whether it's climate change, whether it's cost, whether it's poverty, whether it's water quality. All of these are global challenges that we're all looking to face in some smaller or greater way in our day-to-day work. The community is enabled by technology, and I think we're witnessing the emergence of a design-led revolution as we create the tools and we create everything we want to be sure that these revolutionaries, everyone, from students through to experienced designers, can help us drive that change. At Autodesk, the tools that we produce, we believe will help drive that design-led revolution. As part of that is the student program. Now, Harold mentioned this, but it's important just to restate it, because we've always provided individual students with access to software. We've now changed that, so now any academic institution can get access to the full portfolio of Autodesk solutions. Why are we doing that? Well, we want to encourage young kids to get into design, and we want to encourage the graduates to leave school with the right skills, using the tools that you're going to need to take your business to the next level. What do we know? By 2015, there'll be 9 billion people, of which 70% will be in cities. We've just started to see how these changes are transforming the world around us. And to make a better world, we've got to be able to design it first. We've got to conceptualize it. But as we've talked today, design's changing, it continues to evolve, and the role we collectively play as those wielding the power of design is becoming more critical than ever. So we've given it a name and called it the design-led revolution, but actually it's something that's happening. It's well underway. The growing number of passionate people and organizations designing a future where we can live well is already happening. Everybody in this room is participating in that process. You may not realize it yet. Hopefully you're all willing participants, but it's going to accelerate. And thanks to you, we're making better decisions about our living environments, about our cities, about our products, about everything we use, everything we do, and every way we interact with the environments in which we live. So, we're really excited about the future of how things are made, and we think that with our tools we can make a positive impact on that. The primary reason many of you are here today, we know, is to learn more about the products, but I do have a challenge for you, is to take the time to learn something about a product that you're not familiar with. Learn about some of the new 360 products. Talk to the person next to you. Hopefully they're in a different industry. Find out what they do and find out how technology is changing the way they work, and find out what's going on in their market that might make you think differently about design. Because ultimately, it's the people, it's every single person in this room that has the ability to change that. And our biggest opportunity to change is if the passionate design community in this room and way beyond rises to the challenge and takes the opportunity to design in a better way and design more intelligently. So going back to the first slide about the World Cup, remember this global community of passionate people, cross boundaries, cross geos, across income groups, just creating a shared positive experience. That's the opportunity that we have as designers to create a better world. And that's what we'd encourage each of you to get absorbed in and actively participate in. Thanks for your time and have a great AU.